Hey friends, welcome. It is Wednesday. I'm excited. We're in June now. It's June 1st. This is awesome. Tonight I am going live with the amazing Artistry by Zuri. If you're not familiar, Zuri Dale is located in Houston, Texas, and she is phenomenal. She is an amazing artist, a trailblazer in permanent makeup, and the founder of PMUCon. I'm excited. She's coming up. PMU and whatever else comes to our minds. Woo! Hi guys, welcome. Yay! There you are, beautiful.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Yay! I am so excited to have you on here. You have no idea. I got
Me
my hair done for you
too.
today.
Now I'm excited too.
Thank you so much. Where do we even begin? First, I was chatting before you came up. Guys, if you are one of my followers and you're not familiar with Zuri, Zuri is phenomenal. She's located in Houston, Texas. She is a PMU artist and trainer and an epidemiologist, Dr. Zuri. I got it right today.
Yes, you got it right today.
I got it right today. Oh my gosh. And she
Hi.
is the founder, the brainchild, the woman behind PMUCon. And I'm so excited to chat with you tonight. I'm Nanika. I'm with Color Lab if you don't know me. And I'm in New York. Yay. So, guys, we're going to keep tonight short and sweet because we know everybody's attention span. We all have ADHD of some sort, right? I know I do. We're going to chat with Zuri. We're going to honor her time and have some fun. Yeah?
I'm ready.
Yay. Okay, Zuri. First and foremost, I know that you're an epidemiologist. You are a professor. How the heck did you get into that field?
Into that field or permanent makeup?
Yes.
Into that field?
No, I want to talk about epidemiology first. How
Oh,
did you
okay.
choose that field?
Okay, perfect. Well, I was actually slated to go when I left my undergraduate degree. I was slated to go to UTMB medical school, and I was slated to actually, become a medical doctor and treat patients. Is what I was originally intending to do. But at the same time, I got a full fellowship to go and pursue my first master's degree, so I did that. And so I pursued my first master's degree. It was in biological engineering. And I got really, really tired after that. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm ready to go back to school. Let me kind of chill a little bit. But then during that time period, I got very interested in disease prevention and and the disproportionate impact between people of color and poor health outcomes. And so that led me to pursue public health instead. And so it was a difficult decision to make, but I opted not to go the clinical route, but I opted to go more disease surveillance, disease investigation, disease prevention route, just because I would have a greater impact in that regard. So that's actually what I do right now. My focus right now is infectious diseases. We know that COVID is what's hot right now, so that's primarily what I do, infectious diseases. But I'm more of like if I could describe it, like a science officer. I am responsible for knowing all of the science. And so anytime we have anything going on, it's my role to know, okay, well, what's the science behind this? What exactly is happening here from a data standpoint? So that's actually what I do every day. And so I was able to marry it with permanent makeup, actually. And that's the part that was not my intention. But
We are getting to that.
Okay.
I just wanted everybody to know that you are a smart human being. And but seriously, because oftentimes people think that the beauty industry, it's just so superficial and we're all airheads or, whatever negative connotations come with it. And it's like, no, actually, that's not true. So many of us come from all sorts of amazing backgrounds. So it's important for me to set that foundation. Zuri Dale is nobody to be played with. She is nobody's fool, honey. Okay. So please do tell us. So you go into epidemiology, you're studying diseases, you're studying the impact that it's having disproportionately for people of color, people who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. So you're coming from a place, and this, I'm drawing a line here, I'm going to connect. You're coming from a place of serving and for wanting
Right.
to help. So now
Right.
you go from that to permanent makeup. How?
But you know, it's so funny because there's a really big parallel in some of the disproportionate outcomes that we see in permanent makeup and in some of the ones that we see in health. When I
Right.
got into the industry, originally, when I took a training in this industry, I was getting my second master's degree. So at the time, I was a student just looking to make a little extra money. I had no idea that my business would, kind of fare as well as it did. I'm kind of just looking for a side hustle of sort. Oh, let me learn how to kind of do some brows sort of thing. And that's what I did. And I immediately noticed disparity in the training, and I immediately noticed disparity in the artists who were performing the service. And I noticed immediately the limited amount of information that was available, especially back when I trained years and years ago for people of color. So that was something that I immediately noticed in the industry. But still at that point, it was not really my intention to really be a trailblazer of sort. I was just trying to learn how to provide a service. And the more that I did
Wow.
brows, I realized how much the skin as an organ played a role in the brow services that we provided. And so very quickly it became apparent to me, especially in training, that we kind of treated the skin almost like a sheet of paper, when in fact the skin as an organ is a viable thing that's made up of tissues, well, cells that combine to form tissues, that combine to form organs that contribute to this organ system. And so that's something that was not taught back then. It was, oh, I want the brows to heal, and everything had to do with the color that you chose. And when I got into the industry, I'm like, wait, hold on. We do know that this is
Wait.
real. Like,
Did you like clutch your imaginary pearls when you were sitting in training? Like, what is this?
but you know what's so funny? You don't know what you don't know. So I'm in training and I'm like, there's some disconnect here. But it wasn't until I began to do the services that I realized even the limited amount of information that even my trainer had at the time.
Right.
And that's when I decided that I wanted to be a change maker. And it was a couple of ways that I could have done that. I could have said, well, I want to set out to be the best brow artist. I want to set out to get all these clients. And I was like, wait a minute. What if I show people, for one, I've always been a Renaissance woman. I wanted people to see that it was cool to be an intellectual, that it was cool to be an academic.
Okay.
That was always kind of my thing. And so I really, really, really wanted to marry the two and people to see, wait, it's the science of permanent makeup, at least from my perspective, that's going to yield the best heal result. And I've been promoting that for some years now. And it's so interesting when I'm on people's pages and I see them talking about things that I know was not talked about, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. It's a very rewarding thing, similarly to why I chose epidemiology versus clinical medicine. Because in our role, we work to prevent disease, we work to prevent sickness and prevent illness instead of trying to tackle it after it already happened.
So you are being preventative rather than reactionary.
Right. It's preventive,
Got
it's
it.
prevention rather than reaction. And so it's interesting. It's prevention rather than reaction in both of my fields. And so I'm able to um,
Marry
have
the
that same
two.
value, operationalize that
Yeah.
same value in both.
It's so funny because I remember, I'd gone to aesthetic school and my whole thing was, okay, I'm gonna open up a string of children's spas. How I wound up in permanent makeup is a whole other story. I wanted to get it done for myself. And then when I realized that in New York there was no requirement for education, I was like, hold up, I just finished my
Right.
master's in business. And then I had to go back to school for 600 hours to learn how to do a non-invasive facial. Like, this doesn't make sense, but you're going to allow me to cut into somebody's face and there's no education requirement. It sent me down a rabbit hole of okay, now I'm really going to geek out and I'm going to nerd out on this topic. And sort of the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, going to these, these trainings and, no disrespect to any of my trainers, because like you said, we don't know what we don't know. But I'm
Right.
like, oh God, like we're literally going into the skin. The skin is the largest organ, but you're not saying much of anything. You're more worried about stroke patterns because at the time,
Right.
this was microblading back in 2016. It was just scary as heck. So I think on that level, that's why another reason why you're so fascinating to me, because you do come from a background that is the body, and you
Right.
were working
It
on the
is.
body.
It's crazy. It's like, where else are you able to take essentially a scalpel or grouping of needles, cut into someone's skin, and we pretend as if it's nothing but, art? I'm like, that's not the case, And I
Right.
feel like this is the only industry where we allow that to be so. So I try to do a really good job of pushing the message about the art and the science, and a lot of the education that I put out is about that, because I want people also to get into the understanding that in order to be successful in this industry, you really have to be an overly educated and overly knowledgeable individual. I am so happy that things are starting to shift. 4 or 5 years ago, you could know nothing other than doing a brow and people would book with you.
Right.
Now we flipped it. Clients want to see that you are educated and you are down to the nitty gritty. This is not just,
Right.
blanket, oh, if you have diabetes, but why? What does that mean for the client? What is it about a diabetic that makes them more predisposed to adverse reaction with these types of services? And people want to know, and they want to feel that you know these things. And it's interesting we're talking about
Mm-hmm.
that, because that is what, thank you, because that is what led PMUCon to be, because I personally
I
believe
mean,
in being overly educated. And so that is kind of how that was born. It was not my intent, but it
let
happened.
me just tell you, I'm like, wait a minute, who's doing the interview here?
I
I
know.
am so excited. No, you're all good. I am so excited because that's something else that I wanted to segue into. If you guys are watching, and again, you're not familiar with Zuri, which you have to be at this point, right? Zuri launched PMUCon in March of this year, and the focus was producing great results for everybody, but especially for melanated skin. And why this is important, again, I'm an esthetician, you're a doctor. In all of these fields, the the bar is set at Caucasian, right? And this is not, a dig at any of our Caucasian friends or clients, but that is the bar, right? Whether it be for lipstick, foundation, whether it be for surgeries and pain tolerance or permanent makeup. When you set the bar there and there's no other understanding or education about how to work on other people, it becomes difficult, right? And in our industry in particular, a lot of miseducation has been perpetuated for years and years and years. So bringing it back to what Zuri did this year, she launched PMUCon. She had an amazing group of trainers, artists, just professionals in their field, experts in their fields, whose whole purpose was, how can we teach you how to produce better healed results for everybody, but especially for melanated skin? So now that I've given you, my little with my fake horns, please tell us, you started to, where did that passion come from for launching this? Because that was no small feat that you took on.
Well, thank you. There is a fundamental bias in even the way that we teach permanent makeup. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
we don't realize that when we use things like the Fitzpatrick of color, then if you
There I
look
am.
at, Right.
Hmm.
Okay. Do you want me to start over?
Yes, but I totally missed. You said there's a fundamental bias, and then
So
my
sorry.
phone just spazzed. Please,
there's a
please
there's
continue.
there's fundamental bias in the way that even we teach permanent makeup, starting with the use of the Fitzpatrick scale. And when I originally saw the Fitzpatrick scale as an individual that has some knowledge about skin science, I immediately wondered, why do we use the first thing, like, why do we use the Fitzpatrick scale to pick color? That was beyond me. I did not understand. And I get it, right? We didn't have a lot out at that time. But as a scientist, I said, well, why are we using the Fitzpatrick scale when that really does not play a large role in skin undertone overtone? This is the only reference that we have. But I think the problem that we do not realize that we perpetuate is that even when you look at that scale, we have people of color representing like a sixth, right, of an entire chart, like of an entire group of people, which is actually inaccurate.
Hmm.
People of color have polygenetically, we have the most genetic variation. And so that even the Fitzpatrick scale did not do us justice. And so when we look at some of the work that's being produced, a lot of the disproportionate adverse impact was on people of color. So it's not only are we suffering from poor training, right? That poor training is leading to poor beauty outcomes in our case.
Right.
And so it's something that's continuing to just be perpetuated. And quite honestly, I looked at it as a disservice, right? Because the individuals who were most negatively impacted by that were people of color. And when you look at people of color systemically, and if we look at this, the history of racism in this country, I know, and this kind of gets just very deep, but if we just
Yes, it
look at
does, but it's true.
systemically the history of racism in this country, where we place our priorities, the family structure, and the way in which when we want to invest in businesses and we're using our savings and we're working 2 and 3 jobs, and people are making money off of the backs of women of color who are using those savings and putting trainings on credit cards in order to, you know, tap into the industry, and we're still not learning what it is that we need to learn. And it's women of color who service other women of color, and it was not fair. And I felt as though if we did not do something about it, we were going to continue to widen that gap, you know. So it's already unfair that we don't have access to these services because they're pricing us out by charging $700 and $800. We're priced out of the trainings that are $4,000 and $3,500, and we're getting poor work. It's like, okay, wait a minute. At some point, somebody has to step up and be a trailblazer and do something. And I see just so many women of color. We're flipping the table right now. So PMUCon was, you know what? We have got to do something about the substantial and alarming rate at which we are receiving these poor services and poor training. And, you know, it's funny. I hear it a lot. We say, well, people want to go and they want to take a $500, $800 training. They just don't want to pay. And I have to stop and say, we have to humble our thoughts about that, though, because sometimes people register for what they can afford at the time. The problem is the individuals who knowingly go and be takers rather than givers. And so what I wanted to do was bring all of these people in one place. If you were to calculate how much it would cost to see each of those individuals individually, we are looking in the double-digit thousands, and you know that. And in order to go to PMUCon, we said, hey, you know what? $1,600 in order to come to this conference and see all of these people, which we know is less than what a conference would cost. And I want to make this last point, and I'll give it back to you. PMUCon was a very big risk. It was a gamble. It wasn't just a gamble about whether people would show up. It was a financial risk for me because nothing had been done like that at that scale. When you look at first conferences and first programs, normally they start out on a bit of a smaller scale, and some years go by and you say, oh, wow, like, look at where this grew. But I wanted to curate the Essence Festival of like permanent makeup. And to do that, I had to put my money where my mouth was, and I had to put up the money for the conference in order to even do that. And I bring that up because, you know, it was necessary. It's months later, people are still talking about it. Next year, we want it to be even bigger and even better. And I think that it was worth it, and I would do it again and again and again. So I'll let you go ahead and go.
Let me tell you. So I attended. I was not a panelist at that time. I was not an attendee. I was there helping out a friend, and the positive energy that was radiating from that conference was palpable. Do you hear me? My husband was there. He was like, "Oh my God, look at all these beautiful women. Look at all this talent." Like, I don't think that I like slept well until probably like 2 or 3 days after I got back home.
Right.
Because the energy was so phenomenal. And I only had the opportunity, because I was working, I only had the opportunity to view part of the first day and the third day. I make that statement because you would think that I was sitting in the room, in the conference room, the entire time, the way the ladies were coming out and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Maya just went up there. Oh, look at Shara, look at Jen." It was phenomenal. And I have to take my hat off to you, because I cannot flip and imagine the pressure that you were under. Because guys, not only were the speakers on point, Zuri's team, the decor, the atmosphere, the food, it was just so beautiful. And I'm saying that, and I'm making a big deal, because you all have to like truly grasp the fact that PMUCon did something that was so necessary, and it started to shift the paradigm from all of the things we couldn't do and, you know, all the bad results, to now, hey, wait a minute, here are all these artists who are doing something phenomenal, and guess what, they're willing to share their secrets and their tips with you because they want to see you grow. Because when all is said and done, and I got this vibe from you, and I got it from the other speakers, the goal is to make the community better, right? The goal is to elevate all of us, not just one of us, not just you, but all of us. Because when all is said and done, if things are working the way they're supposed to, which means phenomenal healed results, then our industry, it just continues to rise for all of us. It doesn't just benefit one person. You did a freaking beyond amazing job. Every time I looked, you were going, and you're like, "Are you good? You're good?" And you were going the whole time to make sure everybody was comfortable and, you know, just fed, hydrated, all of that. And I look forward to 2023. I want you to tell us what's going to happen in 2023. I saw that you just announced another speaker, and I'm like, yes, Gigi.
Yes. So
what's happening in 2023?
2023 is already underway. I began to plan 2023. It was overlapped with the 2022 conference. So if you follow the PMUCon page, you saw that conference ended Sunday. Monday, the new conference date for 2023 was already posted, because when I got there, I knew that this was something that we had to continue. And so I've been working really hard since then to really, really build up the lineup, because it's important to me that individuals who came the first year still live enriched year two, but I can't completely switch it up because so many people didn't get a chance to come and they want to get that experience too. So for 1 PMUCon, the price will stay the same. Normally with stuff like this, they see something go well and they like to increase the price, increase the seats. We're not doing any of that. You can expect a bigger and even better experience if that's even possible. My team has been working overtime. Like, they're in a text message like, we need to have our meeting. We need to have a staff meeting. Like, they are just 100% on top of it. But you can expect even more skill building. I went and did the analytics on all of the feedback that we got. You know, 100% would recommend it to someone else, 100% would return. We had 97% feel like they could leave and immediately go and implement some of the things that they learned. But I know that there is still work to do. A lot of the attendees want more skill building. They want more one-on-one time with the artists. And a really, really big thing that I found from PMUCon, Nanika, which is what led me to involve you. You have not said
Lord.
that part. Nanika will be on the main stage in 2023, which is so exciting. Let me tell y'all about Nanika. Nanika came in a capacity to serve, in a capacity to help. Reverence and pigment line. If you've seen Reverence, they're all over. The pigments are great. And I look around and Anika is like hosting like a skill building table. I'm like, what in the world? She has like fruits out and different needles out and all of these things. And I'm like, this lady who I just met like last night is here at the conference with a table. And I said, you know what? That is someone who truly believes in the collective. That's someone I need. I absolutely need on that day. So I'm trying to incorporate some of the topics that we covered last year, as well as some things. I want to call these unprecedented things because these are things that we don't see. Nobody is talking about why we should be using more than the one RL needle. The majority of the attendees had never even heard of the other different types of needles that we can use. So Nanika will be presenting that. I do have Gigi from Atlanta coming out. She is going to do her brow waxing intent technique, and that was an audience request. We want to do more add-on services. What are some of those little things that we can add to make more residual income?
Yes.
So we've added that, and we also added tiny tattoos. I am so excited about tiny tattoos. Tiny tattoos are going to be added as well, in addition to some of those big things that you want to see on stage, the lip neutralization, you know, and the nano and that sort of thing, because it's always good to be refreshed on either of those things. But here's the thing about PMUCon. What you can expect from me, what you can expect from us is that we do not compromise and we will not ever settle. It's taken me a while to build out the lineup because it's important to me that we amplify people and women of color. Now, here's the reality. If I cannot find a person, then I just have to go with somebody else. So this is a challenge. This is a call for us to continue to step up and elevate so that at some point, maybe in 2024, we can see 100% of people of color on that stage. So it's taking me a while to build it out just because I'm waiting and I'm looking and I'm trying to see who I need removals. I'm waiting on, I need somebody to step up with removals and say, hey, let me take the next 6 months to become the expert. I want to see an entire lineup as much as possible of people of color on that stage. And so
I love it.
That's kind of what we're waiting on. We don't compromise and we don't settle. We're trying to stay very, very much mission aligned. And if you see that we're not, check us on that because we want to make sure that, you know, the conference doesn't get too big or we forget where we started.
Well, I will tell you, I met some of the best and brightest at PMUCon, and we're still in contact now, still texting, still messaging. And it's such a beautiful thing to connect because I think oftentimes as women, first of all, we're socialized not to trust one another. But then you add the other layer of being women of color, no matter where you fall in that spectrum, that's a whole other thing. But PMUCon, that entire environment, the energy was like, none of that exists. It's truly about let's get our artistry together. And at the same time, let's have a good time and laugh and, you know, do a little, you know, Cupid shuffle in the middle, but then let's sit back down and get to work. And seeing, so like, I just saw Bijou, she's here watching this. She's up in Toronto. She was here in New York a couple of weeks ago for Chari's class.
No, the collaboration. What I have seen amongst some of these, like, y'all just do not understand. I'm like looking and I look at the collaboration classes, look at her posting her work and her posting this. And it's just amazing to see this did not exist. Yep. Everybody operated in silo. A person in Houston felt like, well, if I post my friend in California, suddenly I'm not going to get clients. And we are realizing the power is in the collective. And it has just been amazing to see.
Well, I will tell you, I'm very, very big on, I'm so tired of hearing people say community, community, community over competition. But then behind closed doors, you're like, but that's not how you're behaving. I've
Right.
seen the actual community start to build and, you know, to connect together. And I have to say thank you for being part of that and for stoking that fire because it was so needed. And I'm just over here in, you know, New York, New Jersey area, just doing my own little thing. And I'm like, hey, friends. Hey. Oh, wait. Hey, girl.
Hey girl, hey girl, hey. I
Right.
know.
And it's such
Y'all,
a
I'm not
great
gonna tell y'all
feeling.
why I planned a class in September for New York, and I said I'm not really even worried about a place because I know when I come, Nanika will just let me rent her place. I'm telling you, that's the collective. I didn't put a class
Listen.
out and haven't even booked a place, y'all. Because I'm like, you know what, I'll call
Yep.
Nanika around August and see what she has available. But that
And we will be
that is the
right
power.
here.
That is the power.
Yeah.
I
It
feel
makes
like I
such a
can go
difference.
anywhere and be welcomed, you know, at this point by some of these artists. And I think what I want to do next year is to create, you know, a directory of sorts where it lives somewhere online. These are people who are part of the PMUCon collective. So if you go here, you have an individual to, you know, to connect with or work in their salon or that sort of thing. So we'll work on that for this year.
Oh, that's gonna be amazing. I'm nerding out because I'm like, wait a minute, tiny tattoos. I was speaking to Char about that too. Oh, wait a minute, Gigi's gonna be. I've been following Gigi for years on it in Atlanta and just double tapping on all those
Yeah.
Fly Brown videos. And she had the baby, and I was like, cute baby, double tap. I'm excited.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for having the heart and for being brave enough to step out on faith and to take the risk financially, with your time, with your emotions, with your spirit. That was so much to take on. You did a phenomenal job. All the speakers, the attendees were all just beyond. And I'm excited. You don't even understand. Like, I'm over here, my hand is hurting, but I'm still like, I got to get it together and come with 1,000% because it's imperative to make sure that everybody gets exactly what they need. And I appreciate you for trusting enough in me to even invite me. I'm looking forward
Yes.
to it. And I know we're running over 30 minutes here. So I am going to ask you a final question. Don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
Whatever comes to your mind first, okay? Tell me a fun fact, something that nobody would know other than somebody close about Zuri Dale. Fun
I
fact.
know how
Can't be
to
boring.
I know how to twirl a fire baton.
That is so Southern. Wait a minute. Were you in a marching band?
I was
Me
the captain of
too.
the majorette team, and I twirled fire. And it's so funny. I haven't done it in several years now, but if I had a baton with some fire, I definitely could still do it. That's a fun fact that people do not know.
That's hilarious. Like, let me tell you, this is why I know we're connected. So I was not captain. I was just a flag twirler. I did not twirl fire. But see, look at
You were
that.
in the band. You know that band life is, you know, it's interesting. So once you a part of that band life, we get each other. But
Well, this was
Nanika,
high school. Let me
high
tell
school.
you.
But Nanika,
Ooh,
one last thing, you know, registration open for PMUCon today. Today is the first day that registration open. And if you register on June 1st, you received $400 off. And I will say that I know that we're just now doing this live. We're just now getting it in. So if there's anybody who's interested in registering for the conference, please try to do it today. If you
what is
can't
the
do
website? I'm gonna put it in
it,
the chat. What's the website?
if you go to the PMUCon Instagram page, if you click the link directly from the bio, it will take you directly to the registration page. So if you register today, you'll receive $400 off of your balance. And so once you pay your registration fee, the balance is not due until January the 15th. So we have well over 6 months in order to, you know, on that balance. So it's just to kind of lock it in so we can be planning.
Yay, I
We
had somebody
started.
DMing me a few days ago asking me about it because they wanted to purchase a ticket. I'm like, reach out to Zuri, reach out. So guys,
Yes, yes. Please come. We
PMU
need y'all to
Con.
show up. We need you to show up for us. It's not for me. It's not for Nanika. It is for us. We have to keep things like this going. We see these other conferences in their 5th and 6th year. People are showing up in the thousands, and we have to do the same thing for our own. So please come.
This is important, Zuri. So last year was an intimate setting. So that means that everybody was able to connect. There weren't thousands of people there because that's not what Zuri wanted. She wanted everybody to feel close and connected and to have more hands-on. So just quickly before we jump off, what is the environment going to be for 2023?
It is going to be the exact same. Do not expect there to be an extreme amount of additional attendees at the conference. There is a cap, because that cap allows us to give you exactly what you are paying for, actually more than what you're paying for. We're adding even more skill building, which is something that these conferences don't do at all. We were the first conference to actually add in skill building and build it into the schedule. And in order for us to do even more of that, we cannot have too many individuals that it takes away from actually getting the correct, the assistance from the trainers. So do not expect more than what we had last year. If you take a look at the page, you'll kind of see what the room looks like. And so we're capping it. It's staying the same.
Perfect. Well, Zuri, I am very thankful for your time this evening. Yes, we need to do more things like this and about all sorts of things. But tonight, I definitely wanted to touch on the fact that you are a brilliant woman. And so many women in this industry, not to take away from the guys, but so many women in this industry are coming from such diverse, interesting backgrounds. And Zuri is one of those people. If you didn't know, again, Dr. Zuri is an epidemiologist. She is just like all things the human body. And this lends to her craft in PMU and her ability to train and to give you exactly what it is that you need. Hence, PMUCon and her belief that it's important for everybody to be able to produce beautiful healed results, especially for melanated skin. So guys, please make sure you are following Artistry by Zuri, PMUCon, and then an underscore, and then Color Lab NYC. And we'll be talking again soon, hopefully. I'm
will.
Excited.
As we near the conference, we'll hop back on. We'll talk. As the things roll out, I'll make sure to share with you all.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for your time tonight. Can't wait till 2023. It's about to go down.
I needed to come. All right, guys. Bye.
Have a great night.
You
Bye.
too.